It's not just a question, it's a statement. You just threw it out there. Are the big three exclusionary? So you showed me something that is definitely no spoiler alert needed. You showed me something on the Steph doc, which is going to come out tomorrow, unless you'd like to listen to your boys Willard and Dibs. We'll give you a little something extra because we're going to watch it tonight and then not spoil it for you, but we are going to give you all that you need on that on the show tomorrow. But you showed me a clip, and it was Steph hitting the record-breaking three-pointer.
At Madison Square Garden.
The first person who gets to him when he hits the three-pointer is Jordan Peele. And there is a very obligatory high five. The second person that gets to him is Draymond Green. And there is an unbelievable, lengthy embrace. Now.
Almost like he was hugging LeBron.
Is it now?
Okay.
Now, on its own, there's nothing to say there. Draymond Green had been around for a long time, and Jordan Peele had just shown up. We all know darn well who he had a more important relationship and a lengthier relationship with at that point. So the fact that it's not like Jordan Peele, it's not like he waved him off, like I don't even want to high-five you. But you showed it to me, and it brought about a feeling that I think I've been trying to hold off all year long, which now I think we need to address. I don't even know if it's necessarily the case. Steph Curry is the most accessible superstar ever. He's nice to everybody, from teammates to ushers. So it's hard for me to say that Steph Curry is an exclusionary person. But the big three, if you are going to be, in theory, like number 4, if you're going to be someone who shows up to go north of 15 points a game and be a big piece of this Warrior puzzle, I think we're starting to get a lot of evidence that the big three, whether they mean to or not, can be exclusionary. Kevin Durant came, Kevin Durant did not enjoy, and Kevin Durant left. We now have the Jordan Peele situation. Next up is Jonathan Kuminga, and what does it mean for Chris Paul? This group has kind of built a wall around itself, and you need to have the secret code to get in.
Well, and the secret code, I think, is know your place and don't threaten the big three, because you mentioned Kevin Durant, and the reason why, in my opinion, why he didn't stay longer than 3 years was because Draymond Green forced him out. Draymond Green did not give Kevin Durant the treatment that Kevin Durant would have wanted. And maybe the Steve Kerr relationship played a role, or maybe Kevin wanted to go somewhere and win his own chip on his own. There are more factors than just he and Draymond didn't get along. But for the sake of this conversation and the exclusionary nature, think about the players that have been embraced and have been around for a long time. Kevon Looney, he's not threatening in terms of, anything.
He's here to help.
He's here to be Kevon Looney.
They're fine if you're here to help.
Andrew Wiggins is not threatening.
There you go.
We would love Andrew to come out and get 12 rebounds a night. And when Andrew is threatening, you win an NBA championship.
Yeah.
So Gary Payton II, you brought him back because he's an amazing role player. And Juan Toscano-Anderson fit. And Otto Porter Jr., he fit. And you can go all the way down to your various Quinn Cooks and Mo Buckets and JaVale McGee. Yep. These are players
Livingston.
who, they played the role.
Well, even
David
the personality.
West and
Well, David West, but David West, vet min, end of career.
Correct.
Was here to do things the Warrior way.
And even Iguodala, why did he remain as a vet min? Why did he remain a factor these last couple of years? It's because he fit in terms of, you're our big brother. We don't even need you to play.
Yeah, he didn't play,
No.
so it's kind of hard to get upset at someone who's not playing.
But it's not like DeMarcus Cousins when he wasn't playing, because when he wasn't playing, it was a problem. And Andre Iguodala, him not playing was actually a bonus, we were being told. Because he was around and he was a mentor and he was a big brother and all the rest.
To handle the locker room. I wonder what everyone thinks about that. 888-957-9570 is the big three collectively, is it exclusionary of other players who have presence? Because everyone, that's sort of the word I would use to combat what all the list that you just threw out there. All of those guys are good players. They are forever warriors. They are well known by the fan base, but they don't have the presence to come in and be like, wait a minute, this guy's bucking the system a little bit. He wants 22 a night. He wants to start. He wants this. He wants to be loved by the fans. Whatever it is, none of the rest of that group wanted that. Kevin Durant wanted that. Jordan Poole wanted that. Andrew Wiggins doesn't want that.
Right.
I think Chris Paul is going to want that.
That's an interesting question because
I think Chris Paul is going to want that.
At 38, I wonder what he wants. And we do know that he wants to find out if Kendra Andrews is actually coaching the team or not. And he asked that question. So we know that he's in search of that answer. But I wonder what Chris Paul really wants as he enters this and his most likely last stop in the NBA. What does Chris Paul want? Does Chris Paul want to start? Does he want to play 30 minutes a night? Does he want to have the license to go 16 and 10 night in and night out? Or is he at the point where he just wants to win and he's going to be content with a backup role and maybe you don't start any game all year long? We don't know what Chris Paul really wants, and we won't know until we get into it and we actually see it for ourselves.
Well, and here's something, and I'm seeing a lot of people say this, and I understand why you're saying it on our YouTube chat and beyond. Hey, what you're talking about with the exclusionary nature is Draymond, not the other two. Don't lump them all in together. Well, here's why I would. Steph and Klay fully, clearly, with emotion and more, support this. They support it. There is no question where they fall. So if you want to say this is Draymond's fault, right, the exclusionary feel of the inside warrior way, if you want to say Draymond's the leader of that, I'll accept that. However, we also damn well know that especially Steph, but Klay too to a lesser degree, these guys have the voice if they want to say, no. We're not excluding. We're not going to push young players out. Jordan Poole is gone, and it feels like Jonathan Kuminga is wobbling on the seesaw right now. Okay? Here's Monty Poole, the Poole we still have here in the Bay Area. Here's Monty Poole, NBC Sports Bay Area, on Steiny and Goo with regard to how that Draymond Poole thing affected the other young players.
A lot of what happened when he swung on Jordan last year, one of my first thoughts is the Warriors have a bunch of young guys on this team. This is the exact wrong kind of impression you want to see from your leader. You know what? Here's Draymond, a four-time champion, defensive player of the year, all defensive team guy, a team leader, and he's swinging on a guy who's a lot smarter than he is, who is 9 years younger than he is. And it struck the wrong tone. And the Warriors had Kuminga and Moody and Wiseman and Baldwin and Robbins, and all those guys were in training camp, and they saw this. And some of these guys are just so new to the NBA, and they're probably thinking, is this what leadership is? You know, so it's one of those things. It's a problem. It's a problem, and it can only be fixed by Draymond, who has to commit himself to doing that. And honestly, at this point, we're not sure that he's ready to do that. They signed him to a new contract, which sort of implies that they believe he can and will. But I think there are a lot of people over there thinking, let's wait and see how this plays out. And around the league, there are a lot more people saying, I don't know. So we're going to find out.
Put me in the camp that goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because when you listen to Draymond yesterday, does he sound like someone who thinks he's got more emotional work to do in the locker room, or does he feel like problem solved, Jordan gone?
Yeah, exactly. And I think Monty makes a very interesting and good point in terms of these rookies, and I know a lot of them aren't there anymore. Baldwin Jr. and Rollins, they're both gone, but you're in one of your first practices ever, and you see your veteran leader roll up to your young gun and just absolutely bury him with a right hand, and you're thinking, is this what NBA practices are like?
Damn, they're right. This is different than college.
Exactly.
Unless you play for Bobby Knight. Sorry.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, PBJ played for his father, so
Yes.
I would imagine that in the 1 year he was there in Milwaukee that didn't take place. But in terms of what you talked about in the exclusionary nature of the big three, remember back to when Kevin Durant was signed and Klay Thompson had the great quote of, we all want to see each other do well, but I'm not sacrificing S because my game isn't changing. So at that point, he was also somewhat exclusionary in, hey, well, Kevin Durant's coming. I'm not sacrificing anything in my game. And now KD's gone and Chris Paul is here. Is Klay Thompson suddenly going to say, oh, I'll come off the bench because...
Well, or is Chris Paul going to do that?
Exactly.
Which, by the way, yes, he is. And it may be against his will. I don't know. But
well, if it's against his will, then you've got problems from the jump.
You've got major problems. So this is all, to me, teetering. And I don't think that... I want to be clear with this. I don't think the Big Three sets out to be exclusionary. Okay? These guys all got on a plane for the Hamptons to go get like the most important offensive player in the game when that happened. So they are welcoming at the start. The same way they're being welcoming right now with Chris Paul. They were welcoming of Jordan Poole. They were welcoming of Andrew Wiggins. But it doesn't seem like there is an openness within the Big Three. And by the way, maybe there shouldn't be. Is there an openness from the Big Three of someone coming in and saying, hey, what if we do a little something this way? Or how about if this, right? How about if I get the spotlight for a second? And I do think that there's a healthy discussion there of like, well, why would you do that? This clearly works. And I think that's their point. But we have now seen, and there's only three great examples. You brought up some smaller ones, but there's three great examples of players with major presence, either at the level of Kevin Durant or first-round draft picks in Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga, who have shown the ability to score some points at this level and have chirped about their role. These three players have all sort of come in and bucked. Like, okay, Steph, Klay, and Dre, but where's my spot here? These three all did that. It has not gone well. And Monty Poole is sitting here telling you it is teetering on going 0 for 3. And now Chris Paul is coming into the building too. And I think we've fallen into a little bit of a trap of just thinking, well, that'll work because they're telling us it will. Boy, I don't know.
Well, the Chris Paul one's easy because it'll either work because he is able to understand his role and embrace it, or it's not going to work because he won't do that. So that one, to me, is an easy one because he's done enough in this league to where at 38 and a half years old, he knows what this is about. He's an 18-year veteran coming onto a team that's got 4 titles. If he can't play his role willingly and do what he can to help this team win, then he's going to be traded before the deadline in whatever way, shape, or form, or they're going to take care of the Chris Paul problem.
Yeah, they're not invested.
He's not going to ruin the year. The Kuminga one is interesting because even if he has a year this year like he did last year, then they've got another team option the year after this one, and that's where they gave Jordan Poole that big bag. So if Jonathan Kuminga in his third year shows that he's getting better and that he's willing to play ball with the Big Three and be a real part of the rotation, they're going to have to give him a big bag of money like they did Jordan Poole.
All right. As always, we'd love to connect with you on any level here. So 888-957-9570. Let's go to Doug in Berkeley. Hey, Doug, you're on with Willard and Dibs. What you doing?
Hey, guys. I'm listening to you. I just got back from a bicycle ride.
Nice.
You know, between the time, it's a great day for it, too.
Sure is.
But between the time I call and the time I get on, you guys raise so many good points that I almost forget what I wanted to say.
Well, you know what? Can I? This is going to sound weird, Doug, but and I don't know how many people know this, but we have this thing called a call screen in front of us, and it tells us both your name, where you are, and then a quick blurb about what you said to our producers that you want to talk about. So I could maybe try to remind you.
I remember. I do remember that.
Your comment says that we're too deep in the woods.
No, I do remember that, but you guys say so much great stuff that I want to comment on that also. But I'll limit myself to that, and just 3 real quick points.
All right, Doug.
First, I think you're getting too deep in the woods, naming all those other players who, West and all those guys. It's Draymond. Okay, it was Draymond. He's a common denominator for KD and for Jordan Poole. Nobody corrects him. 2, and I feel pretty strongly about, although your points are good, I think that there's something to be said for it, but I think at the end of the day, it's Draymond. He's the common denominator. Number two, all those other guys that you mentioned are veterans. Can I just say that the Kerr regime has done next to nothing to develop young players? Next to nothing.
Well,
if you look at all the young players they have who appear to have great talent and who, were drafted by a GM who everybody thinks is really good, and they just don't develop. When I say next to nothing, I choose my words carefully because the next is the one player who did develop, and that's Jordan Poole.
Kevon Looney? No?
How about Draymond Green?
I mean...
Draymond Green did not get inserted as a starter until Steve Kerr.
Lee went down. Draymond,
right. Yes, there was some luck.
4-year college guy picked up the aspects of the pro game that he needed to. Really
right, but they're like they've evolved that. Curse, you have listen, Doug. You want one thing I can tell you, I have had conversations literally with people who have played in the league who agree with you. I'll put it that way. There are. Thank you. I was waiting. There are questions about the development of young players, but it's more so in how quickly the Warriors kind of give up. To me, that's if you want to have a question about James Wiseman, for example, let's talk James Wiseman. And this will play out. James will either become a really good NBA player or he'll just be kind of a shoulder shrug NBA player.
This is James Wiseman.
He's 7 feet tall and he's way too talented to not have a role in the league. He'll be in the league, but is he going to matter? Is he really going to have an effect? Is I think the question with him. And you could make the case that the Warriors just moved on too quickly. But I think you can rally back with they didn't have that time. And I know that that's how they feel. So somewhere in the middle is probably where the truth lies. Yes, they didn't have time, and they probably weren't that into him also.
If you look at the history of 7-footers in the NBA, there are many, many more who never materialized than those who actually became something in the league. Just being 7 foot tall does not automatically make you an NBA star. And I would say it's probably a 5-to-1 ratio, and we could run through all the names of Jahlil Okafor and all the rest of the big busts and guys like Odom who got hurt and all the rest of them that were 7 feet. Oh, boy, you're 7 feet tall. Doesn't mean that you're going to be a good player. And you're right about the Warriors and their timeline. They did not have time to wait for James Wiseman because I think if James Wiseman is going to be a something in the league, it'll be in 3 years, maybe 4 years, because he only played 3 games in college, and then he missed a whole year in the NBA. So realistically, last year would have been his senior year if he would have stayed 4 years in college. So he'd be in this year's draft class, and we'd be thinking differently about it.
It happens. Players do pop sometimes now in the NBA because of how young they get there and how little college basketball gets played and all of that. There are players who don't pop until year 4, year 5. Jermaine O'Neal, it happens. But I also think that, you can see it a little bit earlier, and the injuries were a problem. Now, the Warriors, to a degree, have even admitted that they're having a problem developing young players. They redid their staff and their process in terms of handling young players this year. They made a lot of changes there. So somewhere in there is an admission that the way this is going, our process is not hitting at the level that we'd like. So if that's your opinion, there's obviously some validity to that.
Right, but I don't think you can look at that and make that a condemnation sensation of Steve Kerr because they won a championship.
Sure.
You're trying to, and the 2 timelines thing is so nonsensical now looking back at it. We all embraced it as a thing. The team and the organization never actually said that it was a thing, but we created it because we saw a young core and a veteran core, and what if they could have these 2 things blend together, win a championship, and then in 4 years when Steph retires, it's like you have a 28-year-old Jordan Poole and Kuminga and Wiseman and Moody, and let's reload and let's do this all again, and we'll win 9 titles in 11 years because we have 2 timelines. It's an impossibility when you're trying to develop 19 and 20-year-old players because you can't play them and be good enough to do what you want to do.
Yeah, I just sort of circling back to where this whole thing started. I get it. In a way, I've got to say what falls in line with everything that I've been saying all year. I support it too. Are the big three exclusionary? I don't think they are on purpose. Not on purpose. But if they're having a hard time accepting players who get here and go, I think I know a little bit of something about how to do this more than you guys. Well, no, you don't. No, you don't. And even if you do, this works. So why would you disrupt it? There is an obvious discord here when a player arrives, shows the ability to score 20 a game. He's 23, 22, 21 when this all happened. And therefore, he has every right to be like, look, I need to carve my path. That's my finances. This is my career. I'm not just here to help you. I think that the big three sometimes look at this whole picture and go, we simply need to find people who are here to help. Not everybody's cut out for that job, but they also have every right to do it. They have every right to do it because they've been that good. They've been that correct with how to go about winning in the NBA.
They have, but they haven't done it alone, and they've done it through the support and help of some of those complementary pieces. And then you've got Jordan Poole, for example, who he's 29, he's 20 points a night, and he wants to get what he's going to get, and he wants his bag, and good for you. It's his money, and go out there and get it, and he gets it. And you mentioned that they are not intentionally exclusionary. I wonder if he, and by he I mean Draymond Green, isn't in some ways intentionally exclusionary because he was some way threatened by Kevin Durant in that, Kevin Durant clapped back at Draymond like nobody has clapped back at Draymond. And Jordan Poole, a man who he taught how to trash talk,
but that's
suddenly
the point.
Became greater than the master,
right?
And he got your goat.
But it doesn't start that way.
No, but it becomes that way.
It does. So does he set out to be exclusionary? No, he went to the Hamptons, and he was Jordan's big brother.
Right.
So
a couple of was's there.
Right. So it starts that way, but then there's something that happens in the relationship when he doesn't like the way it's going.
Well, he feels threatened because KD wouldn't kowtow. He wouldn't cower in the face of Draymond Green. No. I'm going to bark at you. And KD barked right back. And so then Draymond called him the B word repeatedly, and then Draymond got suspended, and KD said on the court, that's why I'm out of here. Mm-hmm. And so that's why he was out of here. And Jordan Poole, the young man who learned how to talk trash in the NBA level from Draymond, suddenly became a better trash talker than you, Draymond. And he got Draymond's goat. And so Draymond had to pop him in the face.
But as we all line up to blame Draymond then,
I'm just pointing to the evidence,
right.
Mark.
And you're right.
Which is what you've done all along with Jordan Poole.
But then what do we say when Steph and Klay go, yeah, that guy's right. That's your $100 million player, not these other dudes.
Because they've won with Draymond Green. They grew up with Draymond Green, and they ride or die with Draymond Green. Doesn't mean Draymond's right in what he's done.
But who's shotgunning beers together on golf tees?
Right. Not Kevin Durant.
This is a group. This is a three-man group. And whether they mean to or not, certain people with certain behaviors are not allowed in the club.
Right. And in this trio, Draymond Green is the front man in terms of doing the heavy lifting.
Of course.
Steph Curry, you make the threes. Draymond Green, you do all the bad boy stuff. Klay, enjoy the boat. We'll see you in October.
Just make sure you hit water when you jump off a rock.